Imagine a moment where seconds absolutely count. You are not feeling well. Perhaps you feel faint, or you have fallen and cannot get back up. You cannot speak clearly, or maybe you cannot speak at all. Strangers, paramedics, and emergency responders are in your home. They need to know how to save you, and they need to know it right now. There is one specific spot in your house that they are trained to look at almost immediately. It is not your wallet, and it is not your medicine cabinet. It is the door of your refrigerator. When paramedics rush into a home, they are detectives looking for clues to solve a medical mystery. If they can find the right information quickly, it changes everything about how they treat you. It prevents mistakes. It speeds up the right care. It gives you a voice when you might not have one. Today, we are going to talk about exactly what needs to be on that fridge door to keep you safe. I am Dr. Laura Simmons, and I want to welcome you to Senior Safety Check. I am so glad you are here with us today to talk about this vital safety step. I've also added a helpful guide to the Senior Health Guide app, linked below. Now, let's dive in. Before we get to the specifics, I want to ask you a quick question. Do you currently have any medical information posted on your fridge? Let me know in the comments. Simply yes or no is fine. Let's talk about why the refrigerator is so important. You might wonder why emergency teams look there. It is because the fridge is easy to find in almost every house. It is usually in the kitchen, it is distinct, and practically everyone has one. Over the years, this has become the universal signpost for emergency responders. They call it the vial of life in many places, or simply a medical information file. But it only works if the right information is actually there. I want to share a story about a woman named Martha from Ohio. Martha is 72, and she lives alone in a lovely 2-story house. She has managed her diabetes for years without much trouble, but one afternoon, her blood sugar dropped rapidly and unexpectedly. She became confused and disoriented, and eventually she lost consciousness on her kitchen floor. A neighbor noticed she hadn't come out to water her garden and called for help. When the paramedics arrived, they found Martha unconscious. They didn't know her name yet. They didn't know she was diabetic. They didn't know if she had had a stroke, a heart attack, or a fall. But one of the paramedics saw a red magnet on her freezer door holding a clear plastic envelope. Inside was a simple sheet of paper. "Stay with me here, because this piece of paper saved Martha precious time." That paper told them immediately that she was an insulin-dependent diabetic. Instead of spending 10 or 15 minutes running a wide range of tests or guessing, they checked her blood sugar instantly. It was critically low. They were able to treat her right there in her kitchen. By the time she was loaded into the ambulance, she was waking up and able to talk. Without that note on the fridge, the treatment might have been delayed, and with low blood sugar, every minute without glucose can risk brain injury. Martha is doing just fine today, but she credits that little plastic envelope with saving her life. This brings us to the first and perhaps most critical thing that needs to be on your fridge. It is a clear, up-to-date summary of your major medical conditions. This is not your entire medical history from childhood. Paramedics do not need to know about the tonsils you had removed when you were 6 or the mild flu you had last winter. They need to know the things that could cause an emergency or change how they treat you right now. Think about the big hitters in your health history. These are things like diabetes, heart conditions, high blood pressure, asthma, epilepsy, or history of stroke. If you have a pacemaker or a stent, that needs to be right at the top. This information acts like a roadmap for the emergency team. It tells them which path to take. If you have a history of heart failure, they will be very careful with how much fluid they give you in an IV. If you have asthma, they will listen to your lungs differently. Let me slow down here because I want to make sure this is clear. You do not need a fancy form to do this. A plain piece of paper works perfectly. At the very top, write your full name and your date of birth. Then write medical conditions in big, bold letters. List the active problems you are being treated for. I recall another patient, a gentleman named Liam who lives in Cork, Ireland. Liam has a very severe allergy to penicillin. It is the kind of allergy that closes up his throat. He was out gardening when he was stung by a bee. He didn't realize he was also highly allergic to bee stings until that moment. He managed to get inside his back door before he collapsed. His wife called the emergency services, but she was in such a state of panic that she couldn't remember the name of his heart medication or the specifics of his allergies. She was terrified. Thankfully, Liam had updated his fridge list just a month prior. When the team arrived, they saw severe penicillin allergy written in red at the top of his sheet. Why does this matter for a bee sting? Because sometimes, if an infection is suspected later, or if complications arise, antibiotics are the first line of defense in a hospital. But more immediately, seeing that allergy alert made the paramedics hyper-aware of his immune system's sensitivity. They treated the allergic reaction aggressively and safely. Liam recovered fully, but he later told me that having that paper spoke for him when his own voice had failed. So, under your medical conditions, you must include allergies. This is non-negotiable. Write down what you are allergic to and what happens when you take it. Does it cause a rash? Does it stop your breathing? This prevents the people trying to save you from accidentally hurting you. Now, let's move to the second major component. This is the one that changes most often and is most frequently wrong when we see these lists. It is your medication list. I cannot tell you how many times emergency responders find a list that is 3 years old. It lists medicines the patient stopped taking years ago and is missing the 2 new heart pills they started last week. This can be dangerous. Drug interactions are real, and they happen fast. If the paramedics need to give you a strong medication to restart your heart or raise your blood pressure, they need to know what is already in your system. There is a specific way you should write this down. Do not just write the name of the pill. You need the name, the dose, that means how many milligrams, and how often you take it. For example, do not just write atenolol. Write atenolol, 25 milligrams, once a day in the morning. Listen closely, because this detail is vital. If you use blood thinners, this must be highlighted. Blood thinners change everything in trauma. If you have fallen and hit your head, and you are on blood thinners, that is an immediate red flag for internal bleeding. The paramedics will transport you to the hospital much differently and usually much faster if they know your blood ability to clot is low. I want to introduce you to a third story, this one from right here in the United States. A woman named Betty from Florida. Betty is 78 and loves her independence. She takes about 9 different medications every day. She has a pill organizer, which is great for her, but the original bottles are often thrown away or stored deep in a cupboard. One evening, Betty started feeling very dizzy and had chest palpitations. When the paramedics arrived, she was conscious but very confused. She couldn't remember what she had taken that morning. She thought she might have taken a double dose of her blood pressure medicine, but she wasn't sure. Because Betty had a current medication list taped to her fridge, the paramedics could see exactly what she was prescribed. They counted the pills remaining in her organizer and compared it to the list. They quickly realized she had indeed accidentally taken a double dose of her beta blocker. This information allowed the hospital to treat the overdose immediately, rather than searching for other causes of her dizziness. It saved hours of testing and stabilized her much faster. This brings up a practical action you can do today. Go to your medicine cabinet or wherever you keep your pills. Gather them all up Sit down at your kitchen table with a fresh sheet of paper. Copy the information directly from the bottle label. If the label is faded or you are confused, call your pharmacist. They will be happy to print you a current list. Also, do not forget the things that are not prescription pills. Do you take aspirin every day? Write it down. Do you take herbal supplements, vitamins, or eye drops? Write them down. Some herbal supplements interact strongly with heart medications. It might seem minor to you, but to a doctor in the emergency room, it is a piece of the puzzle. You might be thinking, Dr. Laura, my handwriting is terrible. No one can read it. That is okay. If you can, ask a family member or a neighbor to write it out for you or type it up. If you do write it yourself, use capital letters and a dark pen. Do not use pencil, as it fades over time. This document on your fridge needs to be placed in something that protects it. Kitchens can be messy places. Grease, steam, and splashes happen. I recommend putting the paper inside a Ziploc bag or a clear plastic sheet protector. You can tape this to the outside of the fridge door or use a strong magnet. Some people prefer to put the paper inside the fridge in a designated jar or container. If you do this, you must put a sticker or a note on the outside of the door that says, "Vial of life inside." Otherwise, the paramedics will not know to look there. However, the most direct method is simply having the paper itself right there on the door at eye level. There is another layer to this medication list. It is the reason column. Next to the drug name and dose, briefly write why you take it. For example, lisinopril for high pressure. This helps the medical team understand your history even better. Sometimes a medication is used for multiple things. A medicine might be for blood pressure, but it is also used for kidney protection in diabetics. Clarifying this helps paint the full picture of your health. I want to ensure you hear this clearly. This list is not a set it and forget it project. You must update it. A good rule of thumb is to check it every time the seasons change. When you change your clocks for daylight savings, check your fridge list, or do it around your birthday. If your doctor changes a dose, do not wait. Cross out the old dose and write in the new one immediately, or write a new list. An incorrect list is sometimes worse than no list at all, because it leads the medical team in the wrong direction. We have covered your medical conditions and your medications. These are the foundation. They tell the paramedics the what and the how of your body. But there is another component that is just as important, and it involves the who. In an emergency, you are often separated from your family. You might be taken to a hospital while your spouse is still parking the car, or perhaps you live alone and no one knows you have been taken away. The paramedics need to know who to call. They need a voice that knows you, who can authorize treatments if you cannot, and who can comfort you. This section of your fridge document is your emergency contacts, but it is not just about listing names. It is about listing the right names in the right order. I see many seniors list a son or daughter who lives 3 states away as their first contact. While it is important to notify them, they cannot get to the hospital in 20 minutes to speak with the doctor. Your first contact should ideally be someone local, a neighbor, a friend, or a relative who lives in the same town. This person can physically come to the hospital, bring you your glasses or hearing aids, and speak face-to-face with the medical team. Of course, list your children or close family regardless of where they live, but mark clearly who is local. Also, include the phone number for your primary care doctor. This allows the emergency team to call them directly if they need clarification on your history or your medications. Your regular doctor knows the nuances of your health better than anyone, and having that connection ready can speed up your treatment significantly. It bridges the gap between the stranger treating you in your kitchen and the doctor who has known you for 20 years. This leads us to the third and final critical item that needs to be on your refrigerator door. This one is often the most difficult to talk about, but it is the most powerful way to protect your wishes. It is your advance directive, specifically a DNR or a POLST form if you have one. I know this is a heavy topic. A DNR stands for Do Not Resuscitate. A POLST is a physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. These are legal medical orders that tell paramedics exactly what you want and what you do not want, if your heart stops or if you stop breathing. If you do not have these forms visible, paramedics are required by law to do everything possible to keep you alive. This includes CPR, which can be very forceful and traumatic, especially for older bodies. It involves electric shocks and breathing tubes. For some people, this is exactly what they want, and that is perfectly fine. But for many seniors who are frail or battling terminal illnesses, they may prefer a natural, peaceful passing without aggressive intervention. I want to share the story of Robert from Texas. Robert was 81 and had been fighting advanced lung disease for several years. He had very clear conversations with his family and his doctor. He did not want chest compressions or machines to breathe for him. He wanted to remain at home and be kept comfortable. One Sunday, Robert collapsed in his living room. His daughter, who was visiting, panicked and called 911. In the heat of the moment, fear takes over, and it is very hard for family members to remember legal details. When the paramedics rushed in, they began preparing for aggressive resuscitation. However, Robert had a bright orange envelope magnet clipped to the front of his fridge. It was impossible to miss. The lead paramedic saw it immediately. He opened it and found a signed, valid, out-of-hospital DNR order. Pay attention to this part. Because that paper was on the fridge, everything changed in seconds. The paramedics stopped the aggressive preparations. Instead of chest compressions, they switched to comfort care. They gave him oxygen to help him breathe easier and medication to settle his anxiety. They honored his wish for peace. Robert passed away gently a short time later, with his daughter holding his hand, rather than surrounded by machines and chaos. His daughter later told me that while losing him was hard, she was endlessly grateful that his voice was heard even when he couldn't speak. If you have these documents, they cannot be hidden in a desk drawer in your home office. Paramedics will not rummage through your filing cabinets. They will not look under your bed. They look at the fridge. If you have a DNR, keep the original or a certified copy right there on the door. If you are worried about privacy when guests come over, you can place it inside an envelope labeled Emergency Medical Forms in big red letters. This brings up a very practical question I hear often. Dr. Laura, what if I don't want my kitchen to look like a hospital office? I understand that. You want your home to feel like a home. But there is a middle ground. Many communities have a Vial of Life program. This usually involves a red sticker that you put on your front door or a front window. This sticker tells the fire department or ambulance crew, look at the fridge. Then, on the fridge, you might just have a small magnet that holds a plastic pouch. It is neat, organized, and life-saving. Now, I need to give you a stern warning about keeping this information current. We talked about medication lists earlier, but this applies to everything on that door. Information that is 5 years old is dangerous. Let me tell you about Eleanor from Toronto, Canada. Eleanor is a spirited woman in her late 70s. She had a Vial of Life kit on her fridge that she had filled out in 2018. Since then, her husband had passed away, her daughter had moved to a new city with a new phone number, and her own health had changed significantly. When Eleanor had a bad fall last winter, The paramedics used the information on her fridge to call her emergency contact, her husband, who was no longer with us. Then they tried her daughter, but the number was disconnected. It took the hospital social workers 2 days to track down her family. During that time, Eleanor was alone and frightened in the hospital, and her daughter was terrified because she couldn't reach her mother by phone. This stress could have been avoided with 5 minutes of work. I want you to hear this clearly. At the top of every single page you put on your fridge, write the date. Write it in big numbers. Updated, March 2024. If a paramedic sees a date from 3 years ago, they will trust the information less. They might assume it is wrong and ignore it, treating you as a John Doe instead. Make it a habit. When you receive your new insurance card in the mail each year, update your fridge list. When you get a flu shot, update your fridge list. If you change pharmacies, update the list. It is also helpful to include a small photo of yourself attached to the sheet. This might sound strange, but think about it. If you live with others, or if you are in an apartment building with roommates, the paramedics need to know that the medical history on the fridge belongs to the person lying on the floor. A simple headshot stapled to the document confirms, yes, this is me. There is one more small but vital detail to add to this fridge document. Access information. Do you have a lockbox with a key outside? Do you have a gated driveway with a code? Do you have a large dog that needs to be put in a bedroom before the medical team can enter safely? Writing dog in backyard, code 1234, or key under the blue planter can save emergency responders from having to break down your door. Breaking a door costs money to fix and leaves your home unsecure while you are in the hospital. Giving them the access code on your medical form or informing the dispatch operator who then tells the crew is a smart move. However, if the paramedics are already inside, seeing a note about a pet can prevent the animal from escaping or getting defensive. Let's take a moment to review the complete package. We are not just taping random papers to a magnet. We are creating a lifeline. First, you have your medical summary. This lists your name, birth date, and the big conditions like diabetes or heart disease. It includes your allergies, clearly marked. Second, you have your medication list. This is fresh, updated, and includes doses and reasons for taking them. It is legible and accurate. Third, you have your emergency contacts and legal directives. This tells them who to call and, most importantly, honors your choices about your own life and body. This package needs to be placed at eye level, not at the bottom near the floor, and not so high you need a stool to reach it. Eye level. If you have a stainless steel fridge that is not magnetic, use clear packing tape to secure the plastic sleeve or tape it to the side of the fridge that is most visible from the kitchen entrance. I want you to do one thing after watching this video. Go to your kitchen, look at your fridge. If there is nothing there, take a piece of paper and start writing. If there is something there, take it down and read it. Is it true today? Is the phone number correct? Is the medication dose right? If you are caring for an aging parent, do this for them. Go to their house this weekend. Make a cup of tea, sit down, and write this out together. It is an act of love. It is not about expecting the worst. It is about being prepared so you can get back to the best. Emergencies are chaotic. They are loud, scary, and confusing. Your brain will not work as well as it normally does. You will forget things. You might not be able to speak. By preparing your fridge door today, you are speaking to the future. You are telling the paramedics, I want to be safe. I want the right care. Here is how you can help me. It takes 15 minutes to do this. but those 15 minutes can buy you years of health. They can prevent a medical error. They can ensure your family is by your side when you need them most. If videos like this help you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a tip. We have covered the 3 essentials for your fridge: your medical conditions, your current medications, and your emergency contacts with legal directives. Even small daily steps can help you feel steadier, safer, and more confident in your own home. This video is for education only and is not personal medical advice. Always consult your own doctor for your specific health needs.